like I'm on like my Nicki Minaj stuff. Like I feel like this is something like she would rock. Maybe I'm just thinking too. No. Okay, I'm gonna stop. This video is exciting. I just did a update on school, and I wanted to talk about my nurse externship because I'm freaking excited that I got one, and I'm so blessed and so thankful and so happy. So this video, I'm just going to talk about what a nurse externship is, when you should apply, your resume, and all that good stuff like that. So let's get started. Alright, so what is a nurse externship? A nurse extern is when you work at a hospital usually, and they take nursing students under their wing, and they pretty much show you things, give you opportunities, help you to get familiar with hospital, help you to get familiar with a floor, and really just kind of take nursing students under their wing so that they can be a lot more comfortable, understand how to do a lot of basic skills. Also, they like to keep nursing students upon graduation. So they'll ask you like, hey, when's your graduation date? And they'll keep you so that when you graduate, they can offer you a position either on the floor or somewhere else in the hospital. So that's why it's really good to try to get a nurse externship while in nursing school, because it can really secure you a job after graduation, or at least help you to get your foot in the door at other facilities because you have experience on a certain floor doing certain things or just being around the atmosphere. So when should you start applying for a nurse externship? In nursing school, you usually have to wait until second semester. Some places say third semester, but most hospitals will start hiring nursing students on second semester. Usually you will get hired either the mid of the semester, but you won't actually start nurse externship until the summer because they want you to be done with your mid-surg rotation. That's why they usually say you have to apply second semester or third semester, because they want you to have that med-surg rotation, mainly because for one, it's longer. For two, usually that's when you get on the different type of floors. You'll get more intense clinical experience. So that's why they prefer you to be done with your med-surg rotation. Also, some nursing students, I realized, they don't have clinicals and fundamentals. So that's another thing that they do. So you should wait until your second semester of your nursing program to start applying places and looking for different nurse externships. Now, where should you look for a nurse externship? Just literally type it online wherever your area is, and literally lists will come up. You'll see at like the beginning of the semester, it's not really a lot of nurse externships. They usually don't start hiring again until like mid-March ish. Usually March, April is when they start really opening applications, because the other nurse externs are going to be graduating. And in the spring semester, not spring, in the winter, they'll start hiring around like December, because they usually try to hire you right before like a break, because they want to have training and orientation. They want to do it when you don't have anything else really to do. So that's when you'll see the applications really pop up around November and December and March, April, because you're getting towards the end of your semester, and you can get everything kind of done without being too busy with school. But definitely look for applications all the time. Indeed, Glassdoor are really, really good for having nurse externship hospitals. Also, when your facility, usually who's ever like the front desk person of your nursing program, is usually the receptionist, the one who usually emails you about any updates or whatever. They'll email you and they'll say, hey, this hospital is having open interviews for different positions, or this hospital just had applications open up, and they'll tell you, because a lot of times hospitals in your area where your school's at will contact your school and let them know, because they want to hire students that are close. I mean, that's just the truth. So it's definitely really good if your school does notify you about applications opening up, to go to the hospital that they are mentioning, because it kind of helps you to be able to be kind of one up on some people, because they already have interest in your school, and maybe they like the nurses that come from your school, so you kind of can have that edge and say, oh yeah, I go to this school, kind of thing. So definitely try to apply to all the schools that your nursing teachers or whoever tells you about. Different schools in your area, I mean not different schools, different hospitals in your area, definitely apply to those places. But don't be reluctant to apply outside of your area, my externship is not where I live. It's like 45 minutes away, which I'm not mad about that at all. I always said my cutoff point for driving for a job is probably 50 minutes, because if you don't live in Atlanta or you don't live in a major city, that's usually the time that it will take you to drive if you're kind of in the middle like I am. So I don't mind driving, and that's something you have to think about too. Is a little drive worth the extern position, which it is for me? So don't try to just look at jobs that are 5 to 10 minutes away, because it's hard sometimes to find a job close to you. So try to kind of go a little bit further than where you're used to, because you want to have as many applications out there to be looked at by many different hospitals, because you want to try to get one. So apply everywhere. Go on Indeed, go on Glassdoor, look for any place that is not too far from you, and put those applications in. Now, when you're doing application, that's the next thing, your resume. When you get to nursing school, you need to start revamping and changing your resume. I know being young, I used to have really vibrant color resumes. Stop that when you get into nursing, because a lot of times when you apply online, they have like the HR person who kind of picks and chooses applications, but they usually use a computer system that will kind of weed out different people. So if you have a resume that has a whole bunch of different colors and pictures, sometimes it won't even get to an HR person to actually look at, because it'll get thrown out to the side with the computer system, because it won't be able to pick it up or read it. Or when it kind of scans through the system, it'll be all jumbled up because you have too much going on. So you want to keep your resume very clean, very to the point. So use dark colors, preferably black or dark blues. Try to condense everything on at least 1 to 2 pages. I try to put everything that's important on the first page. So my clinical sites is the first thing you see on my resume. I have my name bolded at the top, and then I have like a little, like a sentence that pretty much just says what program I'm in and when I plan to graduate. So they know if they do pick it up and the HR person can look at it, the first thing she sees is my name. Second thing she sees is what program I'm in. And right after that, she sees my clinical experience. So you want to make sure that your clinical experience, your program, and your graduation date is like bam, smack in the middle, because you want them to see that, because that's really what they're looking for, is your clinical graduation date and who you are. Also, you want to add your skills on your resume, and skills is what you check off on. In nursing school, we have to do skill checks. So that's your Foley check off, that's your IV check off, that's your piggyback check off, that's your physical assessment, that's your vitals. Anything that you were checked up on and that you had to really be monitored on, and like really they had to really see if you knew how to do it, put that on your resume, because that is something that you're competent on. Even if you only did on a dummy, it don't matter. You still competent enough that your teacher said, hey, I'm gonna check her off. So put that on your resume. Also put your BLS certificate on there. We have to get that in nursing school, so put that on there so they know that it's up to date, and put when it expires. Also just put again your school that you go to and when you plan to graduate, and if you're an ASN or BSN. And that's it. As you continue through nursing school, put your clinical experience on your resume, because that's what's going to be used as experience to a hospital. We might not think it's the same, but it is the same. So really, you need to put, if you worked at McDonald's, that should be at the bottom. All your hospital skills, clinical stuff should be smacked down at the top. That goes into the next thing. When you do hospital jobs, they're gonna ask for you to have references. Use your clinical instructors as references. Literally all my clinical instructors have said, once clinical is done, they're like, if you guys need references, anything, let me know. Here's my number, here's my email. Let me know, because I really want y'all, like they really want us to find jobs. Like they really will help you out. My favorite nursing teacher, I had her fundamentals, but she's just the best thing ever. She literally, I text her, like I'm like, hey, I sent you an email. I email her. I use as references. She even calls the hospitals back and say, hey, I left a reference for such and such. Did you get it? She's really amazing. So definitely try to use your clinical instructors. By the time med-surg is done, you already really have, and like second semester is done, you already have like 3 or 4 references you can use, because you have your 2 teachers for your class, and you have your clinical instructor, which sometimes isn't even one of your teachers, and then you have your psych teacher, and then you have your psych instructor. So you have a ton of different options, but you want to preferably use one for a teacher that you actually really communicated with, because sometimes you can be like my teacher in my class. I like the second teacher that helps. I didn't really talk to her very much. I didn't have clinical with her, so I wouldn't use her as a reference because she doesn't really know me. That's why it's good to use your clinical instructor and any teacher that you really had a relationship with, because you know they're going to speak very highly of you. Usually they need like 2 to 3 references. So 3, try to pick all clinical instructors, because they'll see that, oh, her clinical instructor says she's really good or he's really good, so we should be able to trust them, and bam, bazam, that works out good. So yeah, when you get to the reference part, definitely use your teachers. So if you have an interview, I interviewed 3 times, and the job I actually got, I didn't interview, but I got it. But the other ones, it is nerve-wracking. Which I made this mistake, try not to say like a lot. I said like a lot, and I was like, that's probably why I didn't get that job. But try to speak very to the point. Try not to say too much like. Ask questions. Ask about the hours. Ask about how they utilize their nurse externs, because some hospitals will utilize you as in a CNA way, and some will kind of focus more on nursing items. So that's something you should know. Also, ask questions about their turnover rate. Ask about how they hire within. Just ask them a lot of questions, because at the same time you're getting interviewed, but you also should be interviewing your employer, because if you do decide to stay at this facility upon graduation, you do want to know their turnover rate. You do want to know, certain things about their facility, because you don't want to sign a contract and work at a place that you will literally not like by any means. Like in all aspects, you don't want to do that. So definitely ask questions in an interview, and dress really nice, dress really professional. Don't wear, low cut tops and all kind of crazy stuff at interviews, or even when you go to the open hospital calls. Try to be very professionally dressed, smile, try to really be nice and speak to everyone, and so forth. So that's if you have an interview. A lot of hospitals really will just hire you off rip when you're a nursing student, but again, if you do have an interview, try to follow that. If you do go to open house, like not open house, but yeah, like an open house or open call at a hospital, the same thing applies. Dress professionally, bring your resume. If you can personally give your resume to a nurse or a director of nurse, then you can make your resume very colorful, very bright. But don't use bright resumes for online applications. But again, if you're going to do an open interview, meaning you can go to the hospital and they're just talking to people, have a very vibrant, pretty resume, because it'll stick out. But don't do that online. So you always keep 2 resumes, one for when you're in person and then one for online purposes. But the same thing applies. Just professional, ask questions, be really nice, be very open, and so forth. So once you get through all that and you did good, girl, you're blessed, you're thankful, and you get a job, offer, see if they will allow you to be placed somewhere that you like. But if you're not able to get placed somewhere you like, just take it anyway. Nurse externship is hard to come by, because again, there's a lot of nursing students out here and there ain't that many jobs for nurse externs. So you really, really want to take whatever they give you. Like with my externship, I didn't really think about working in the ICU, but then I was like, being in the ICU will be a blessing, and as long as I'm in there, I'm happy wherever I get placed. So you definitely want to take wherever you can, because a lot of hospitals will tell you that even if you get placed on a floor that you really don't want to be at, or you don't really have any interest in working at, still take it, because it's a lot easier to transfer within a hospital versus trying to be outside coming in. A lot of facilities will do that. Well, they'll have nursing students and they work on a cardiac floor, and they'll let you transfer to a peds floor. They'll let you transfer to a med-surg floor, just because that's just how it is. So that's why it's better to get in than nothing. So if you get a job offer and maybe it's on a floor that you don't really have that much interest in, still take it. A lot of facilities as well, like with my nurse externship, I'm mainly in ICU, but they are going to float me between oncology and women's services, which I'm happy with every single one of those places. So try to find a facility too that will let you rotate or float, or even just to go observe. Because again, if you show your face and you go on the floor and they really like you, you can transfer over and they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember her. She came one day and she was so amazing, and oh my gosh, I loved her. So you might be able to transfer that way as well. So definitely, if you get a nurse externship, take it. Don't be picky. Just take where you can go, because as long as you in there, it's way better than not being in there. So be thankful for anything that you get, because again, it is hard to come by nurse externships. That brings me to my last point, which is just be patient. I waited. I was one of the last people to get a call back, like literally. And it was so just the work of God, because for one, I applied stuff late, and I had to reapply to the job I actually got now, because, I was scared that they didn't get my application or they overlooked me. And literally one day after we had a test, I think, or lab, everybody was like, oh, I got a call back. I'm starting in the summer. And I was like, I didn't get a call back. I was really sad about it. Like, I was really sad. And I went home. Well, I went to get something to eat. I drove home. I prayed in the car. I was like, God, I'm going to just trust that this will work out and that I will get an externship. I kept speaking it to existence. I was really like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I went home that day. I went to sleep. I took a nap. I woke up an hour later. I looked at my email, and the recruiter from the job I'm at now or the hospital that hired me on was like, hey, we have openings. Where you want to be at? And I was like, thank you, Jesus. It was just the craziest thing. I was like, God literally answers prayers. Like literally an hour later, after I was in the car depressed, I got a call for the job. And I was able to pick where I wanted to be at, which was a blessing. So definitely be patient. Don't worry. Just trust in God. Pray on it, and just be patient for a call. Also, try to see if they can work around where you want to be at. A lot of hospitals will try to work around you to try to place you where you have interest in. So definitely, when you do get that call, ask questions and be very involved with where you'll be placed at. And yeah, that's really it. About that, I do have orientation. It starts in June, and I will probably try to do a get ready with me or something on that, so you guys can see what I'm wearing, because you have to be very professionally dressed. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited to start. I'm just really blessed, and I'm just really thankful for this journey. And I'm just going to keep praying, keep trusting God that I will really do well, and I will make it, and I will end up where I am supposed to be. So yes, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please stay tuned for more nursing videos coming your way. And as always, thank you guys. Have a blessed day, and I will see you later.